Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Love Story. I am your host, Yandea, and joining me today is Janie. So, Janie is. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Love. There we go. So, Janie, yes, we met. How did we end up meeting? We ended up meeting via, I think you probably saw one of my NDE videos.
I did.
And then that was like history after
Yeah.
that, right?
Yep.
So before we get into your story, I just kind of want to start there. I want to give people a little bit about like how we connected, because that even ties into what you do, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and then even before that, just a little bit about yourself. Um, you know, anything. I don't really want to do the intros. I want you to share what you want people to know about you. So feel
Yeah.
free to just share as much as you'd like, and then talk a little bit about how we connected.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on Love Story. So yeah, I came across your NDE story. Actually, my husband came across it and he sent it to me because we a lot of times on our podcast, we like to kind of talk to people about it. And so I sat there, I listened to the entire podcast. I can't even remember where it was. And then I kind of did some more searching and I just listened to your story from different perspectives. And I was like, I want her, I want to hear her story. I want to chat with her. And that was it. I think I sent you an email, reached out on IG,
Mhm.
and we planned it. And we just kind of had your episode go out last week, which was amazing. Tons of views, tons of responses from that. So it's been great meeting you and sharing your love story as well.
I remember when we had first connected and we had our little talk, I was like, wait, I need to hear your love story, because you also, I think, was it 2018, was it? That you had.
Yeah, that's when the journey began.
Yes, 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 yes. So I was like, okay, so we're gonna do a little switcheroo, right? So
Yeah,
I'll be on your podcast and you'll be on mine, because I definitely want them to hear your story.
yeah,
And both of us have a passion for love, which
yeah,
is it's a great thing to be passionate about and to want to share more of, and just expand and reason about love and all its different ways that it shows up in our life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I usually I usually just give a little bit of time to see, to just say hi to some people who are online. I see we have some people watching, but guys, like always, I know you're watching, but let me know, who you are, let me know where you're from, because I like to say hi to you. It's like people are just watching, but then you don't know who, so it's nice to always be able to thank you by name, or just to let you know that I do acknowledge and appreciate you tuning in, and especially today to hear Janie's story. So also anybody who has subscribed to our channel and who, likes and shares the videos, I thank you very much. It means a lot to us. Also, as you listen to Janie's story, if it resonates with you or you want anyone to hear it, please go ahead and share her story. Okay. Janie, we will leave your contact information in the description. And at the end of sharing, I'll also ask you just to say it so that people who are listening can, contact you that way.
Yeah.
So, without any further ado, I'm going to ask you this question. After this question, we can go whichever way. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
So, the question I'm going to ask you is, how has love rescued you in any way? How has love rescued you out of a dark time in your
Mhm.
life?
So it definitely goes into what we're going to talk about this evening. And in 2017, 2018 was when I say my love journey began. I had gotten married to at that time for the second time. All right, so this was my second husband. And we dated for a long time. And during that time, we traveled, we did all the things. It was wonderful. But I was in my closet one evening packing to go to Miami just to have a beach trip. And I had the hardest time packing. It was almost like my soul was like no, it wasn't in alignment with this
Right,
anymore.
right.
It's not, it's no. And it was almost like, be still, slow
Mm.
down, because I
Wow.
was on the go, traveling, having a good time, all that good stuff. So, I started to just lean into that
Mhm.
for a minute and see what was happening. So, got married. And I told my husband at that time, hey, I think there's something spiritually happening. I
Wow.
need to slow down. I need to figure out what spirit is trying to tell me. I have no idea what's going on. Um, and he couldn't quite understand that.
Yes.
He was like, well, how long is this going to take? I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't even know what's happening.
Yes.
All I could tell you is that I'm growing spiritually, but I don't know what's happening.
Yes.
So, in that process of me trying to understand what I was being shown, our marriage showed up in some very conditional ways,
Wow. Okay.
very conditional,
Yes.
right? And at the same time, spirit was trying to show me what unconditional. And I
Mm.
think what was really happening was that getting into this new union, we needed that time to merge, to become one, to
Yeah.
get quiet, to settle.
Yes.
But at the time, my husband at the time, he just didn't understand it. He just couldn't understand it. So I said, listen, you go, you travel. We had a place in Miami and he would go on weekends. It was something we liked. I said, you go, you do it. I have to stay put. I have to figure out, I need stillness. I
Mm.
need some silence. I need to go within myself, right?
Yes.
And so I did that. And during that time, I everything in the marriage was showing up just very conditional. Things were being said, that wasn't very loving. Words was exchanged, all of that. And I remember one night, I literally cried out. I said, I need a love that I could feel at the pits of my soul.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even know what I said at that time, but everything started to change.
Mm.
So I had one part of my life completely falling apart. Marriage was being dissolved. My father passed away in 2018. I had just like went out on a limb from full-time employment to full-time entrepreneurship. And I mean, it was complete chaos. It was complete chaos. Things were very dusty, but I kept trusting. I kept waiting. I just knew. So I surrendered to the process. And in that process, I realized that everything in my life that was not based on unconditional love could not stay.
Yes.
It had to go.
Yes.
And all those things went. So there was a lot of things. I had to move, I had to do a lot of things, do a lot of shifting. But in that, beautiful things was also happening because I was embodying this love. I was reading about love. I was using the word love. But I had two spiritual experiences that really, really enforced it for me after I cried out. So, and it was two nights back to back. And they were both dreams. The first dream was a being.
Mm.
This being was full of light, and the being was coming towards me. But the being didn't say anything. The being didn't say nothing. It was just coming towards me full of light. And I was like, wow, like, whoa. And I just woke up, and
Mm.
then that was it. The
Mm.
very next night, I didn't see the being, but it was a voice. And the voice said, you got it right. It's about love.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I sat up in my bed and I said, I got it right. It's about love. And that was it. So I went down that rabbit hole. I had to know what was love, what was unconditional love, what was love with conditions. What type of love had I experienced in my home with my child, with siblings, with parents? The human love.
Yes.
What was that? What is God love? What is divine love? And it took me on that journey.
Mhm.
So in that, like I said, there was all these things that was not of this unconditional love that had to go away from my life. But at the same time, there was these beautiful things starting to build that was based on love and service. So during this time, I took two medical mission trips to Nigeria completely on my own dime to go and to be of service. And those trips transformed me, transformed my heart. It was just so many things in that experience. The people I talked to that had nothing material, but had so much love in what they were dealing with in their life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was all these things that I started to really, really understand about divine love, unconditional love. So, like I said, that marriage dissolved. And as we know, sometimes when we awaken, if you've ever been, I know you have because you had it through a near-death experience, but sometimes it's meeting another soul. There's always a catalyst, it's always either a near death or a sickness, an illness. It's all these things. My catalyst was meeting another soul who became now my twin flame. We wrote a book called Capacity to Love and Awakening to Unconditional Love. And what happened was I had to realign everything, my business, my relationships, everything in unconditional love, right? So I saw him on a social media platform. He was cooking and he was showing his food, but he put so much love into it. So much love into his food. He had the music playing. I mean, he was just doing his thing, and you could tell he was so into it, right? And my business is a health and weight management clinic. So I wanted to refer my clients for meal prep to
Mm,
him.
that's good. Yeah.
But I wanted all my collaborations to be with people who were in this same alignment,
Properly aligned. Yes. Yes.
properly aligned, because business will flourish when
Yep.
you're in divine love as well. And all of these things I was learning. So I sent him a message. I was like, hey, I would love to connect. I would love to actually send some of my clients to you. Do you do meal preps? That kind of thing. So he was like, yeah, I'll make a few for you to try out and we can go from there.
Mhm.
So when we met, our conversation went so beyond meal prep. It was deep. It was about all the things. I mean, it was literally from cosmic to earthly to like all the things. So the more he and I talked, and the more I was learning how to embody love, how to express love, how to align my life in love, he and I did everything we could to exchange books. We exchanged podcasts. We read books together, and we did all of this spiritually. There was no physical in it.
Yes. Yes.
And this went on, and it was like this beautiful electrical magnetic energy that was just literally growing between us.
Yes.
And I felt it in my heart chakra.
I
My
believe you.
cells woke up. The first time I talked to him on the phone, my cells vibrated. I was like, I don't know what this really means, but I want to know. I want to see where it goes. Like, I definitely want to see. But I was intrigued with his knowledge. I was intrigued at how deep our conversations could go. We unveiled so much. We unveiled our childhood. We unveiled, different experiences, just all the things. And we realized how aligned our life was.
Mm.
We came from very similar socioeconomic upbringing, similar parent situation. The biggest difference was we were 16 years, earthly years apart,
Yeah.
but it didn't really matter, right? Because I wasn't seeing anything physical about him. It was all spiritual. It was all this emotionally spiritual thing that was happening. So at that time, as I am awakening, all these things are happening. At the same time, so many things were like falling apart. I started to experience dreams. He was in the dream. Some of the dreams, I would tell him about it. I would put it in my dream journal. It came to pass regarding him. So
Yeah.
I knew we were connected. I was also, the number synchronicity that I kept seeing was 444.
Mhm.
Everywhere I went. I mean, I could pull up behind a car, the license plate was 444. I
Yep.
would pick up my phone, it was 444. I would walk in the house, the clock on the microwave was 444. And I had never experienced that before.
Mhm.
I knew something profoundly was changing.
Yes.
One day I walked outside, the leaves didn't look like the leaves. It was vivid. There was this different perception of everything. Everything looked vastly vivid. So I started to understand as I continued is that I was having a shift, a paradigm shift.
Mhm.
I was having a shift. I was growing, having a spiritual awakening. But as we know, as these beautiful things were happening, we know that at the same time, there is this darkness that comes in because I had to come face to face with all my fears. And when he and I did meet, we did trigger. We had triggering, we had mirroring. There was a lot of things that, he brought up that was very triggering. Same thing for him with me. But we were very spiritually mature and I understood it, what was happening. And so we understood that we just needed to keep working on ourselves
Yep.
to make sure that the relationship can grow and be in purpose for what it was meant to be.
Yes.
So that's how our book came about. That's how the podcast, we actually are co-hosts on our podcast. It's called Matters of the Heart and Soul. A lot of the things that we did heal within ourselves was balancing masculine and feminine energy and coming together in wholeness and anchoring down that unconditional love in the masculine, in the feminine, in the earth, so that we could help other people awaken. And that's where we're at, and that's where we've been.
Yeah, I'm listening to you and I'm like, this is why, because I remember when we were scheduling like when we should meet. And I was like, you know what? Usually I meet with people like half an hour before just to like brief them on how this
Yeah.
podcast. And for whatever reason, I was like, you know what? No, let's just meet at like 7:20. And we ended up meeting at like 7:30
Yeah.
and just like coming on and just coming live, right? So what you're sharing, everything you've actually shared now, I know nothing about. So I'm
Wow.
hearing it all because we've never spoken.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All I know is that while I was sharing my story with you before I went on your podcast, you were saying, wow, like in 2018. So I don't
Mhm.
know all of exactly what, but now I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. So the
Yeah.
thing about it is, I'll tell you the things that stand out, right? You mentioned my awakening happening with my NDE,
Mhm.
right? But it actually didn't. My
Ah,
yes, my I will say that my journey with love really, really, really with true love really began with my husband.
hmm.
And if you recall in my NDE, I said that when I was actually like fully like dead, going over, I came back and I said to him, if we pray, if the two of us pray, then and ask God to send me back into my body. And he agreed to, and I went to the other side, right? And the thing about it is that
Mhm.
the love that made me want to come back here was to continue building that love that I had experienced with him and then with my children, right? And then to be able to expand that. So I think I'm listening out for, wow, being able to discuss this type of, like you said, having that responsibility to use your connection to literally, like you said, I think you said it this way, grounding that masculine and feminine energy. And that is literally exactly what we feel. So I'm like, that is amazing because you and I never, I just knew we were going to talk about love, but I
Yeah.
didn't know it was going to end up connecting, right? That way. So now I do have a lot of questions to ask you,
Yeah.
just because now we were kind of like parallel, right? Like almost mirroring in a sense.
Yeah.
I'm coming off of relationships that were not in alignment and then finding that alignment. Something you mentioned about the physical reaction you had when you met your husband. I also, people know my story. You could even look at some of my videos. I talk about it, what I felt like happened actually in my actual body. Like you describe it as cells vibrating. I feel like for me, I felt like electrical charges in areas, right? And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And that continued. Like I remember our first time just like having a moment alone, and he just kind of like placed his hands, and my husband's not an energy worker, like that's what I do.
Yeah.
He just had his hands around me, and I felt like all of this amazing. It was like we were making love.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I never did that with nobody else, right? And that's not his thing. So we were having these experiences for the first time together. um and so as I listen to you share these little things, it's like when there is that like perfect alignment, you get these, it's like these two energies that are called to be together to do a certain work, to be, whether it's an example or to work together to build something or whatever the case is. I think in this reality, it always takes, I think in more than this reality, but let's just be here because we're here now.
Yeah.
It takes masculine and feminine energy to bring into existence anything that's going to last long term.
Yeah.
I think that is nature's way, and it's the divine way of creating life that lasts, right?
It is the two energies needed in all of creation.
Creation, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you said that you guys triggered each other
Yeah.
in a sense, and that is something that I think I always talk about, like you may have someone in your life. Well, I would say like there is love in every relationship, even though we may not realize that love is there, because everything is love, even if it's hard for us to understand that it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because one, and I'll ask you that, right? Like your past relationships, when you look back at it, can you see, or do you see that you attracted these people into your life because at that time that's just where you were?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We attract who we are.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I learned so much from those relationships. We should, because if we're not learning from our relationships, then I don't know what we're doing. We should
Not doing,
learn
you're not
from
growing.
those relationships. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but I realized that a lot of times you could have relationships that are somewhat karmic, that you attract these people because you both have a lesson to learn. And once that lesson is learned,
That's it.
you go about your life. And that's why people could sometimes be married years and then they divorce and you're like, what happened? But then I realized that there are those relationships that are so divinely aligned, and it is a divine mission.
Yes.
Is your blueprint, is
It,
your soul's blueprint.
that's
It is
yeah.
what you signed up to do.
I believe
And
it.
it's no denying it. It's no denying it,
Yeah.
because I feel like, and if you could really understand what's happening when you meet a person and all these things are happening to your body and your energy and you're awakening to all these things, if you could really understand what's happening, uh, it could be the most transformative process you'll ever, ever, ever experience.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's what it's done for me.
Yes. What do you say to, I would say the same thing. Same for me too. I think I'm a totally different person having met my hubby. You know, the thing is, a lot of people know me as a healer. And I always tell them, you know, I do retreats and stuff and people come out and all that. And I always tell them, um, my husband is my healer, you know. From everything I've been through in life, I never ever met a person who was able to help me. You get what I'm saying?
That's good.
And I've never, you know, and I just accepted, right? Okay, I'm called to do this, whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I would literally be praying because like my grandfather would be the person I would go to, but then he transitioned like way before I even started, you know, publicly doing this work. And so by the time I was coming into situations, I didn't have anybody, right? I had to kind of just really, and I'm not upset about that because that's what caused me to really get very strong in the spirit because I had to like I
Yeah.
had to be able to like make sure I'm hearing spirit and not other things, not my fears, not anxieties, not other people's voice, but I'm hearing spirit clearly. So I'm very thankful for that. However, I remember when I met my husband, I had already seen him when I was younger, like 14 years old, and that was it. Spirit woke me up, said, "Go outside, you see a boy." I went outside, I saw my husband, didn't see him
Wow.
after that. And so when we met back when I was like 37, he remembered me. And he's like, "I saw you when you were 14. Don't you remember me?" And I was just like, and then he told me the city, he told me who I was with. And I was like, oh my gosh, the boy, you know?
Wow. Yeah.
So all those years have passed in between from 14 to 37. He had his things that's happened. I had my things. And then nothing could have stopped us coming together.
Same here.
Nothing could have stopped us coming together. And we even have talks sometimes, and he's like, "I forgive you, staying away from me for so long," right? Because I went through a lot of pain in time that I wasn't, that middle part there was very painful. He went through all of his own things too. And I often think if only when we were 14, we met each other and we were just together from then, we would be one of those people who were like together from wherever,
Yeah.
little kids. But that just wasn't in it for us. And I look at all the things that we've been through without each other. And it's amazing that we are equipped to help each other heal from all
Yeah.
the things. Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All
I
the
think
things.
if you would have met sooner, it wouldn't have worked
We
because
would be
there's so
maybe different people, in a sense. Yeah.
and then you got to go through your healing because what I have come to understand in this journey is that you really don't meet that divine flame like that until you have really
Yes.
done the work.
Yeah. Until you've come, I think right before I met him, I was saying to myself, because I could actually track like where I was in my mind with my exes. And I could see like, okay, one, I'm like wanting this family acceptance, then I'm wanting to, you know, like, who am I? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there's
Yeah.
all of these processes,
Yeah.
right? And it's like self-love, like all of these things, and even the bad. And it's so funny because the bad relationships, so-called bad relationships, sometimes force you to come to these places of really defining and realizing and seeing who you are and being able to stand in the truth of this is what I don't like and this is what I like. This is who I am. And this is,
Absolutely.
and it really helps you to see yourself and stand firm in that. So by the time 37, I was like, I don't need anybody. I am so good. I rather be alone than have another man that will be like a big child,
I said the same thing. I said the same. I was so committed
Yes.
to that.
Yes.
I
Yes.
said the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And that's
And
when they come
and then
in.
he showed up because you know what? I think because at that time you're so sure of who you are, you're not looking for someone to make you happy. You're not looking for any, you're like, okay, I am this person. And if I have to go the rest of my life being alone because I am not willing to not be me. I'm not willing to not be me. I'm not willing to get married to somebody and they're only marrying a part of me. I'm not willing to wear a mask. I'm not willing to, if I'm going to be married to somebody, they have to be, it's all of me.
That's it.
Right. And
Yeah.
this is who I am. Sometimes we say that, without even ourselves knowing who we are. We don't even know what all of us, what it means to know all of you. And so I was so good. I remember when I met him, the conversation, I said, oh, no, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to be alone. And he was like, no, you can't be in this world alone. You know what I mean? I was like, no, I'm good. And he actually, that was one of the things that I had to heal from. You know what I mean? All of those hurts, disappointments. Yes, you come to knowing yourself, but we do this sometimes. We do this big swing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like instead of coming to a balanced place, right? We just swing on to the other side. And so he was like, bring your little self right back here into balance. You know what I mean? You know that you want love. He reminded me. So this is what I was saying about the awakening of love, because I had said to myself, I'm okay with giving all my love to everybody. I don't think there's someone alive who can actually love me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. That's okay. That's
Yeah.
okay. Maybe next lifetime. But I
Yeah.
don't think there's really anyone on earth who can see me, understand me, accept me, and love me. So I'm good to just love my children, love my clients, love my family, love my friends. I'm just going to be giving love. And I'm okay with that, right? Because I have self-love and whatever the case is. And he was like, no, he reminded me of how much within myself I have a deep craving for that masculine connection.
Mm-hmm.
And so he awoke in love in me all over again. And I am so happy.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So hence why when I died, I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to go, right? Because, I think if I didn't meet my husband and I had that experience, I'm not sure if I would have come back.
That's interesting.
Yeah, as much as and it's true, I love my children, but
Yeah.
I really accepted that they are their own individual souls who have their own journey.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
part of me that's already like, my children are, they're not babies anymore. You know what I mean? So it's a part of me that already accepted that, but there was something about, I know him and I have something to do. I know that, it's like I waited so long for him and now we're together and we have this mission, and
Yeah.
then I'm dying, and it's just love. Love was so strong,
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
kept, it kept me, it kept me here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And what I've learned in my journey was that this love that you feel, right, that you feel towards your husband, it's so important that you feel that in the divine,
Mhm.
in God. And that was clear. Although I had this immense, everything was awakening. And, even with my son, I have all this love with, again, I'm in the medical field, 20 years, healer, in a different capacity. And you do give, you give a lot. So I've had to learn how to love in balance with wisdom though.
Right, right, right.
Because love is my superpower,
Yeah.
especially as a woman. That is our superpower.
Mm.
But we have to understand it in wisdom at the same time. So that was a part of my journey. But it was also clear that the love that you're anchoring down is from the divine.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
anchor that down into this earth and you spread that out.
Yes.
It's still not no one's responsibility to heal me.
That's right. That's right.
That's between me and the divine.
Yes, that's right.
But when I show up healed and I show up 100%, I'm going to attract
Yes.
my healed counterpart.
Yes. Yes.
And so that journey was very, very clear to me. Because like you, I have a huge capacity
Yeah.
to love.
Yep. Yeah.
And in the journey, that's why the book was called Capacity to Love, because we don't realize that everything we go through is building our capacity,
Capacity. That's right.
is going through the hurt, the past
Yeah. Yeah.
relationships, whatever it was,
Yeah.
the abuse, whatever it was, is not blocking your heart. Is seeing the love in that, seeing the light in that, and still choosing love
That's right.
every time.
Every time.
So the distinction between love and fear became very clear.
Can you talk? Can you just go into that a little bit, like examples for those who are watching?
Yeah, so what we have honestly been programmed,
Mhm.
if you're here on this dimension, you've been programmed.
Mm.
When you were born into a family, you were maybe born into a religion, you were born into a sex, whether you're man or woman. All of these things are programming us. We didn't come here like that. We are programmed. And the biggest program is fear. But fear and love cannot exist in the same situation at the same time. You are choosing one.
Yeah.
And so it became clear to me that if moment by moment by moment, I could ask myself, Janie,
Yeah.
are you choosing love or fear right here?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of our families are broken up, especially families of color, is because we're doing some type of fear-based relationships.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
And nothing that is not built in unconditional love will not stand.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
will fall.
And that's a good
Eventually,
thing.
it will fall.
And you know what? And that is a good thing. Being able to look at the fact that only what is love can stand. It's a great thing. It's a great thing when things that are not um, eternal, everlasting fall apart. You don't want anything that is not true to last. You don't want anything that is fake. Like if you knew you had a fake friend, like would you want to find that out day one of your friendship, or do you want to find it out like later on in life?
Yeah,
If you have anything in your life that's not real, it's better that it falls apart earlier than later, which means it's better that it be weak than strong,
exactly.
you know?
And it was clear, like, Janie, these are all the things that's not of love. And it's okay, it's falling apart,
Yeah.
but we're going to build you on solid ground over
Yes.
here that's eternal. And that's
Yeah.
going to be a solid foundation for you. And so there was the process of surrendering.
Ooh, that word. Go ahead. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Surrendering was huge
Mhm.
because
Mm.
we try to control out of fear.
Yes. Yes.
Like you said, you were fine. Sometimes we say, well, I'm fine without a relationship. Fear of getting hurt
Of
again,
course, that's
or,
exactly it. Yeah.
fear of whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are highly programmed into fear.
Yes.
And so I understood in this journey that God is love, and there's only one energy here, and it is love.
Mhm. Mhm.
Everything else is a program and it's fear. So I had to come, like I said, face to face with fears that I had, all the things, but it was a beautiful surrendering journey. So, as you know, getting a divorce and just going full-time entrepreneurship was like, wow, like, okay, we're gonna do it. But I had to face a fear of maybe financially not being safe, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
all of these things that I thought were secure just was pulled from under me.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's so funny. I'm like, we really like, I understand. Like, we really did have this discussion, but it's the same thing. Like when I got married to my ex-husband, I got married to him and I did not like literally went on a honeymoon, and when I came back, I didn't go back to work. I started my entrepreneurship journey. And that, let's see, so and then my son is 19. So and I was so 20 years ago, I started that journey. And then being an entrepreneur and then going through a divorce while being an entrepreneur, that's even more scary in the sense that, you know, even when you're an entrepreneur, but you have someone else that's working, you have kind of like, you know, something in the background. You don't, you know,
Yeah, it's a security.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a security. And then all of a sudden, well, having three children and that security now, you know, is gone, and still deciding to continue homeschooling, because I was homeschooling my children, continue homeschooling, continue being an entrepreneur, and I still am to this day, you know. That is, anyone who's an entrepreneur knows how difficult that is. But the reward of your freedom, you know,
Yeah.
is you know, it's kind of worth it. I think that's why we still do it, right?
Yeah.
But it's so difficult, especially as a woman in this, you know, in this realm.
Yeah.
And being able to partner, you know, being able to find that partner who can, you know, be that for you, be a
Mhm.
partner, not just you flying solo. Can we talk a little bit about that? Like feminine, working, entrepreneur, meeting masculine. What
Yeah.
is that? What was that like for you?
So before me and my current husband got together, I had already made that transition.
Yes, yes,
I was committed. Also, I was committed to aligning my business in the energy of love,
yes,
which
yes.
is how we met, right? So I was already there. Again, it was a process of surrender. I'm going to worry about today. I'm not going to worry about all the things. I'm going to worry about my daily bread. That's
Yeah,
it. I
that's
don't
right.
have to worry about all those things. And then that's when I realized that I can magnetically draw things to me. I think that female entrepreneurs, sometimes you can get into this masculine
Masculine, yes.
a feeling that you have to hustle, you have to go get it. No. And it was clear to me that no, everything you need is going to come to you if you stay in your love vibration. And
That's
everything that's going to come to you is going to be divinely meant for you to have.
right.
And so I don't work hard. I mean, it's beautiful. And I've grown every year since.
Yes, yes.
So
How
I
has,
already made that leap
yes,
before we got to that point. So him coming in, he was extremely supportive, extremely supportive. And one of the things that I did start in this journey was the podcast, and it's called Matters of the Heart and Soul, and it's to align the masculine mind with the feminine heart
yes, yes,
for that perfect alignment.
yes, yes.
And so I understood that I didn't even want my podcast just me because I felt it was unbalanced.
Unbalanced, yeah.
I wanted, if I'm talking about spirituality and I'm talking about all these things, we need it balanced.
Yes,
And
yes.
so he brings in that balance because there's a lot of things that I was able to learn through his masculine eyes.
That's,
As women, we don't think about, we don't see.
yeah,
And those were some of the things that we triggered, each other in.
yeah,
He was
that's
like,
great.
men, yeah,
That's
he was like, men don't think that way. And I was like, but blah, 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 blah. But it allowed us
Yeah,
to balance each other. And
yes,
so our podcast is a part of our ministry,
that's right.
is what we give out freely.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
When you said about, you know, being triggered, I think that that is one of the, how do I put it? Being able to meet, for me, I'll just say for me, you could say if it was the same for you, but being able to meet a man who could be my teacher was so important because we both obviously learned from each other.
Yep.
With what I do, like homeschooling plus everything else out there, it's so much I'm always in the teacher role. It just always, ever since I was little, it always happened. Like I always end up being in the teacher role.
Yeah.
So then finally meeting somebody to be my partner who I could sit down and like learn from was so, I don't know, it was just, I don't know really how to, it was like ecstasy, like really.
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
was something that I longed for so much, to just have someone who could, I could learn from something so
Yeah.
simple, you know? And so, yeah, we learn from each other, but I feel like there are just certain things that when you come in alignment with your right partner, they just help to get into areas that, like, you know what it is? I think this is coming to mind. I think it's that, like, what makes, even whatever I know you said in the healing, so we're both in that healing realm, even if we do it in different ways.
Right.
What makes people who come to us, what makes everything work so much better is the fact that they trust us, right? When we tell them to do this or that, they trust it, they do it, there's results, right? That's what it is. I think there's something about being divinely, perfectly aligned with someone that your guards are down. Like, you know,
Yes.
trust them because you're like, oh, it's him, so I can trust. And because of that trust, we allow them into places, even if it's just to have discussions or to share stuff, we allow them into places that nobody else was really worthy to enter in because they didn't earn that trust in us. And we knew that they weren't trustworthy. Hence,
That's exactly right. That's
yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. And again, it was his capacity. It was his capacity to meet me
yes, yeah,
that deep.
exactly.
That was important. And I mean, we really, I tell people it was a conversation that just never ended.
No,
It never
I
ended, which is
understand
why we
that.
have a podcast, because we talk about it. So one of the things that he did, because I would ask him, what do you think about unconditional love? Because I had these dreams and this being came to me, then the voice said I had it right. It's about love. So I'm gonna get it right. I'm gonna figure out, okay, if this voice told me I have it right, I have to go down love all
Yeah,
the way. So I would ask him, like, what did he think about love? Do you think like there is a thing as unconditional love?
yeah,
And one of the things I'll never forget that he said, it was like, I'm so ready for the right woman.
mm,
So in those conversations, one of the things he gave me, because we met somewhere around my birthday, he gave
yeah,
me a book.
yeah.
And the book was the Celestian Prophecy. And I don't
Oh,
know if you read that.
what, girl? I had all the books. I had the movie. I had everything. What? What are you saying right now?
There you go.
I
There you
went,
go.
what year? I got mine in, like, it was like 2011 or 10 or something, where I got that. Like, listen, okay. So you really, I understand. I understand.
So there
Okay.
you go. So I had never read the book, never heard of no such thing of the Celestine Prophecy. But when I tell you I read the book in the weekend, I
Yeah,
read it over the
read it
weekend.
for sure.
And
Yeah,
was like, you read the whole book?
yeah,
And so we were able to discuss and go that deep
yeah.
on all of it.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. That
Yeah.
is so wonderful. Yeah.
And the book brought us together, and which is why we wrote our own book
Yes. Yes. Yes.
about
Yes.
our own awakening.
Yeah. It's so amazing because I kid you not. I Before coming, I went, I had my shower, I came downstairs, and I won't say it now because I literally just said it to him. I said to him, I said, babe, because he was laying on the couch, and I said, babe, this is the title of the book. And I said the first one is going to be about that, and the second one is going to be about this. So it's two parts to it, right? But the second part is all about, like, our love story and
Yeah.
that awakening to love and the importance of, masculine, feminine, that whole thing. This rising, when we got up, I said to him, so when are you doing it? Like, when are you going to come and do the podcast with me? Why aren't you? Why aren't you? So, because, obviously I have the 2 podcasts, right? And on the other one, I have a friend of mine for a long time. His name is Dwayne. So that's that masculine, feminine there. But my husband, like I said, he needs to be heard. And he says, but I am heard. I'm heard through you because we're one. And it's true, right? Because we do we talk all the time. Not like he's my best friend. Like, there is no, even when he's not around, I'm having conversations with him. In my head, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
Literally 2 nights ago, his higher self, like it was 4 a.m. when I looked at the clock, but his higher self got up, turned around, and gave me a message.
Yeah.
And because I tell him all of my dreams. I mean, I keep it, but he knows all my dreams because he's that one person that, okay.
He's that one person. I know, I understand.
Okay, I told you, and you know that this I said this before it happened. So, but and that's why I know it's cosmically connected. Is nothing that I could have ever thought that could ever occur.
Exactly. It's amazing. I love it. I love to know that, like even earlier today, he said, babes, I think it's actually happening, because he was looking at some stuff. I think people are actually starting to wake up, like,
oh, definitely.
Actually, because there's been some times where, like, is it happening? And then, but he's like, no, I think it's actually happening. So
people are definitely waking up. And, I think that's why we're coming together. Because it is to anchor that unconditional love down. Because one of the biggest things on my journey, and there's so many ways we could talk about it, but for some reason we only knew God as a masculine God.
Oh yeah.
And one of the most amazing things that I learned was that love is so feminine. It's so feminine. And that our women have to awaken to this.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because that's how we awaken our masculine.
Yeah.
It's going to be through love.
Yeah. That is so deep and so big. I'm going to ask you this question. We're going to circle back around. How has your husband, what has your husband taught you about love that you did not know yet?
That's a good one. I think he's taught me love from masculine.
So what did you,
protecting, providing.
Yes.
Okay. One of the things when you're single and, it's just different, right? But when you have a true masculine man, he's very protective.
Extremely.
Very territorial.
Yes.
And so one of the conversations that we had, and he was very clear with me, he said, I can't protect you like this. And something clicked. Like, girl, no, like he can't.
Exactly.
Like, you're right. I need to allow this protection.
Exactly.
So that became very, very clear that love is protection, love is provision, and that I could allow that.
Yes, very good. That's so awesome. That is, like, I feel so much joy.
Yes.
Because I think as women, something is happening where, well, there's been an agenda to have us think that we do not need the love of a man, right? Like, we do not need masculine love. And it's gone on for several years. And now some people are turning around and saying, wait, I think we made a mistake, because this way that we're going about living our life, like you said, as both of us being entrepreneurs, we know that the way to be successful is to attract.
Mm-hmm.
There are many women out there being business women or whatever, and they are doing business in their masculine energy, and it is draining them.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely draining their life force because they are counter.
Yep.
They're spinning in the opposite direction, put it that way,
Yep.
right? They are doing a counter spin, which is going against the natural flow of what they are. So they're actually expending way more energy to do whatever it is that they're doing. And so, like for me right now, my husband is the main breadwinner, right? Like he is like personally, I do everything that I do. And if one day I wake up and I'm like, I want to see no clients at all for
Yeah.
like months, I don't have to see anybody. I
Yeah.
don't have to do anything. I just absolutely, if I want to, you know what? I'm just gonna close the office, not take any calls, and paint all for the next year. No problem. That's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna paint, and he's gonna be right there, like, babe, I love your painting. Come sit,
Yeah.
paint. And so I could compare that to, even though I was from like the past 15 years being an entrepreneur and having to attract, into myself, there was still a worry
Yeah.
in the back of my head, like, okay, yes, I'm attracting, but I need to help this process because I don't see enough clients coming in and bills need to get paid. So what can I do? What else can I do? Because I have these children that I have to take care of. I have these things I have to get paid. So that, and then I've also experienced being with somebody and being in that flow, and that person not being a, a provider person. So I've also been in a very long term, like 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
common law relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and that person not being a breadwinner, and me still being an entrepreneur and still have all of that worry,
Mm.
as opposed to now being aligned
Mm.
enough knowledge of self to have attracted my actual person into my life. The
Yeah.
person who could be like, I see your gifts, I see your skills.
Yeah.
You need to give this to the world. Like I'm on here today because what time he'll ask me like, what, oh, he's my 1,000th subscriber. He watched to make sure that when I got to 999, he would subscribe, like follow, subscribe,
Mhm.
because that's how supportive he is. Anything that I'm doing, he wants to be my number one person. That
Yes.
is to me what a man is supposed to do. See
Yep.
your gifts, see your talents, and encourage you to shine in it.
Yep.
That doesn't mean that while he's encouraging you to shine, that you're carrying the weight of the responsibility of providing for the family.
Right.
Our shoulders were not made that broad, spiritual
No.
shoulders. You understand what I mean? So all of that is how I experience his love.
Yep.
And obviously he's extremely affectionate and all these other things, but
Yeah.
every day that he wakes up and he goes out and he faces this world,
Yep.
sometimes I don't want to face, I want to just be here in my zen. So every day he wakes up and he goes out and he interacts with people, all for the sake of creating, stability and protection for our family. That
So
is
your family could win.
so we could win. So I could have the freedom to do this if I want to or not.
That's it.
Like submission, submission. We talked about surrender.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that word submission? What does that mean to you when you hear it?
Yeah. So I feel like we submit to each other.
Yes.
I
And it
think,
comes naturally.
and it comes naturally.
Exactly.
Again, my husband sent me your video.
Yeah, he's the one who sent you my video,
Yeah,
right? Right.
because he knows, like, hey, check this out. I think you're gonna like that.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And I was like, I'm gonna email her. And so you have to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's very intuitive. He's very spiritual. He's very in tuned.
Yeah.
So, and I, like you, very knowledgeable. So he teaches me a lot. So I'm always listening. I'm
Yes.
always listening.
Facts.
Yeah,
Yep. Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
So I think we submit to each other. There is no, like, nothing is forced, and it should never be.
No, no, no. It's such a different way. I remember when we first met, I said to him, you know, coming from a Christian background for me before, I said to him, you are literally the love of God made manifest in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like God just came down. You know, all the time you pray, you meditate, and you feel the love of the divine. You know, sometimes it's like hugging you, like you could feel it
Yes.
all around you.
Yep.
It literally felt like the presence of God, the love of God. What I would say, if I'm in a higher vibration, like, ooh, I feel the presence. You could just feel that love. It
Mm-hmm.
literally felt like that just manifested in a man.
Yep.
Because when he would be in my presence, when we would hold, embrace, whatever, I literally feel that same blissful experience I have when I'm having a spiritual encounter. I
Yeah.
do that all the time. And so I would say to him, I wish all women could have this. I wish all women could, and men, but I really feel for like my sisters who, because I've been there, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make it work and just like, toiling, right? I know a lot of women who are in like terrible marriages. And when I say terrible, it's like whether a marriage is positive or negative, right? We're staying until whatever it is that we're supposed to
Yeah.
learn from
Mm-hmm.
it. And I think sometimes people leave before they've learned the lesson, but then they just find themselves in another relationship to teach the same lesson.
That's
It's
true.
things like that, right? Then they're like, why am I in a cycle? Why am I? They don't, until they realize, wait, I'm choosing the
Yeah.
same person in different skins. I'm choosing the same thing over and over. But I think it's so wonderful. I've come across many women who would say to me, and I'd like you to talk about this, many women who would say to me, I'm just really ready now for a masculine man so I could be in my feminine. Right? They say
Mm-hmm.
I'm really waiting for this masculine man to show up so that I could be in my feminine. And my response to that is always, you need to be in your feminine for a masculine man to show up,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Because he's not going to be attracted to a masculine woman.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. And that's it. You have to already, we attract who we are. You
Yeah.
can't wait for it and then say, oh, I'm going to
I'm
show
going to
up.
attract it.
That's
Exactly.
like saying, I'm going to get a husband, then I'm going to learn to be a wife. No,
Oh,
get,
okay,
into
okay.
your
Talk
feminine.
about, you're not going to escape over that one. Just talk slow. You're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, so you have to show up
Yeah.
as who you are authentically, because what happens is we're not authentic, then
Yeah.
we try to get into these relationships, then our mask comes off,
Oh,
then
no.
the true person comes out.
Yeah.
No.
No.
And that's why when I was in that marriage, I was
Mhm.
like, this is not showing up
No,
aligned.
no, no, no. And so good what you said there, right? Because a lot of the times, like what we do is we we're kind of programmed, right? We're programmed ever since we're little with
Yep.
the different shows and everything, all the Disney shows and the books you read. And so women are literally like in a window, right? Like, the pet store. You're literally like waiting to be chosen by the person passing by, right? So what happens is that, and this is like subconscious, right? So you start being a person that you think, right? You start pretending to be a person that you think will draw this
Mm-hmm.
into or to help you to get chosen, right? Okay, oh, guys like bigger boobs, I'll do this. Guys like this, they like girls who whatever, I'll do.
Yeah.
So in that process of trying to get chosen,
Yep.
you lose yourself.
Yep. You
And
got it.
then, yeah, and then you get picked, right? Then you get picked and you get picked and then you get married. And then you're like, okay, good. That's over now. Throw it all off. And then he's like, this is not the
Yes.
person I married.
Yeah,
Not
that's
who I
true.
married.
That is
When we
true.
first met, you wanted to have sex all the time. You were like cooking for me. You were doing this. you're showing me all of this way. You're listening when I talked. You wanted my opinion. You wanted,
Yeah.
and now we're married and I have to beg for sex. You don't even want to cook. You know, all of these different things
Yep.
because you were deceiving. You did what you did to catch him. And now that you have him, you want him to continue to pretend that you are still the person that you were pretending to be.
Yeah.
When he is now going to be like, okay, you're different. So if you're different now, how do you expect me to still treat you the same way? Because you're not that person.
That's true.
So when he starts treating you differently, you're like, why are you being like this? But you're not the person who you showed you were.
Yeah.
And
And
so I get, yeah,
yeah.
I get a lot of people who contact me about their relationship breakdown. And it's like, okay, well, are you the same person that he met? And it's not that we can't change.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you changed, is that you pretended to be someone that you weren't. There
Yeah.
was different with when we met, you know, but now I'm into this, I'm into that. No, no, no. It's that you were always into that and you pretended that
Yeah.
you weren't into that. That's the
Exactly.
problem. That's
Yeah, like we should be evolving. Our relationship should be growing. Anything that's not growing is dying.
yes,
But we cannot be a fraud. Like that's
exactly. That's
fraud.
fraudulent.
Yeah,
Fraud. Yeah.
fraud. Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. And I feel that accountability, that
hmm
women have to come to that place of being accountable. Like if I want a man, if I want to be in a relationship where the man loves me, I have to be me
yeah.
from the beginning so that I could attract the person who loves me. And that way, when we get married, I just continue to be me. And there's no problem.
That's it. And that was so clear to me on this journey. Okay, a man is going to have to meet me in love, in divine love. I'm going to be sitting in here in divine love. And if you're strong enough, go ahead and come on in.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And what I think a lot, and I've talked about this, we we sometimes lower our vibration, right? To be in relationships, to
Mm,
get acceptance, to whatever.
be
No,
chosen.
you hold it there.
That's
Because
right.
what I do know is that when women awaken and women evolve and women grow, everyone does. The
Yes.
men and the children
Yes.
and
Yeah.
our entire communities will be
Yes.
up there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think we have to hold it. Don't think you're old. Don't think, you've missed your boat. Don't think that. No, hold it.
Yes.
Just like you said, and I said, oh, I was willing to like just be good right here
Yes.
because
Yeah.
I'm going to hold this vibration.
Right. That's what it is. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And anything that isn't unconditional love, it will fall.
It will
Anything that it's
fall.
not, yeah. And it's so funny because I just think we do this thing where we break love up, right? Like we have love and then unconditional love. And I don't even think love exists without being unconditional. Do you get what I'm
So,
saying? Like true love is unconditional love. There's something else. Like we're so good in calling other things love that aren't love. You get what
yeah,
I'm saying?
yeah,
And we've gotten so used to that. We've gotten so used to just that
yeah,
word love is just, but then it comes, I'm saying I don't think that love, actual love, it doesn't come with these conditions.
right.
You
And
get what
and
I'm
that's
saying?
what I've found to be true in alignment with divine love.
Mhm.
Because just people do put conditions. Well, he has to have a credit score of this, and he has to be this height, and he has to, make this amount of money and all this, all
Yeah.
the things, right? That is conditions. And I don't think that it's love. I don't think that because you are putting all these conditions there. But I told my husband, I said, I could only love you because divine love is here.
Yeah.
If it was me with my human self, with my human flaws and my human eyes, I would be doing the check marks just
Yeah.
like everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah.
but only through divine love. I could say, that doesn't matter. None of that matters. And
Yeah.
I'm zoning in on you, and I see you. I see the God in you.
Yeah. Yeah. And he does the same for you. And he
Yeah.
does the exact same for you.
And
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Mhm.
So if we don't know divine love, we can't love unconditionally. And that's just been my journey,
Yeah.
because
So
we will love humanly.
yeah. Yeah. And I think that's, if we could talk about one thing, like, we were talking about the NDE that I had, that's something that is, they're just like where I was, I talk about this, like, not, there is no hierarchy
Yeah.
in life and there's no hierarchy in love. So before that experience, I could have understood that. But after that experience, I'm like, no, I know why we're saying that.
Yeah.
In actuality, no. Like, I get it. What it is that it's not love. It's just not. It's something. What it is that if I say I want someone who sees me, who can accept me as I am,
Mhm.
and who will love me, period. Not even saying unconditional. Let's just say who would love me. There is a certain person who can see you, actually see you, all of you, accept you, fully accept you, and love you. It's not a
Mhm.
whole bunch of people who are going to come in alignment with your soul, with your vibration, with your specific energetic signature. So it's
Yeah.
a certain person who's going to come, see you, be like, that's her. That, and being with her as she is, no changes. I will be the happiest person. Do you get what I'm saying? A lot of people with their check marks, right? Okay, I want a man with money. Why? Usually is because we talked about fear, right? Fear of being poor.
Mhm.
Fear of being poor, not having the understanding that you can attract or create abundance or anything. So because of that fear, I need a man to be rich.
Yeah.
I need a man to be tall. All of these things are coming. That's coming. It's not, we could say, oh, it's just what I'm attracted to.
Yeah.
Say that, but that is still coming from a place. It's still coming from a certain something that's happened or whatever. And I'm not telling you that you can't like red flowers or, you know what I
Right.
mean? Different variations. But when you say, I meet a person who sees me for who I am, who loves me and accepts me fully, but because they are short, I can't be with that person, then you're not looking for love. Do you get what I'm saying? You're not looking for love, because why we feel so great in this engulfing, you know, divine love is because when we are in the presence of Most High, we are fully accepted as we are. That is why we feel, that's what that love is. That love is full, total acceptance as we are, how we are. The way that like a mother will have a child, a father will have a child, and they look at that baby and they're just so in love. They're
Mhm.
not looking, they didn't even notice, oh, this baby has an extra finger.
Mhm.
This baby has this or that. They don't, this is their baby and they just love that baby and they just fully accept that baby. That's theirs.
Mhm.
That is the type of love we feel when we are talking about divine love. It's a total acceptance of us,
Yeah.
everything about us, right?
Yeah. And I think it's because we're both human and divine, right? That's why we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
So I think what trips a lot of people up is that they're in the humanness. They're caught up in the human emotions. They're caught up in the human drama, of what they're playing out. And
Yes.
we have to realize that we're spirit.
Yeah.
And so if you could love in spirit and in
That's right.
truth,
Yes.
you
Yes.
won't see physical,
Yeah.
because you could zone in on the spirit of a person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But because we're in these bodies,
Yes.
human happens.
That's right. That's
And
right.
so your human things kick in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what really does trip people up.
Yeah.
But if we could moment by moment, ask ourselves, am I doing this out of love or fear?
That's right.
And another one that became clear to me was, am I doing this out of spirit or
Mhm.
ego?
That's right.
And when
Yeah.
I say ego, I'm just saying the body.
Yes. Yeah. I
The
understand. I
yeah. So those two questions, if I'm at some weird
yes.
decision,
Yeah.
am I doing this out of love or is this fear?
That's
And
right.
we have to ask ourselves that every time. But
Yeah.
we are human. So I think that's what's tripping people up,
Mm.
that we are involved and engulfed in the drama.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got to get the house and I got to get the car and I got to get the marriage and I got to do all these things and I got to get the business and I got to make all the money and
Yes.
it's the drama of this human
The play.
journey that you're on. It's a
Yeah.
human play.
Yeah.
You're
The
in a
play.
movie.
Yes, exactly. Facts. Yeah. I
So
think I think that the part of I love everything you're saying there because when you're free of the body and you are back,
exactly.
because I could tell you, right?
You
When
know,
I know, girl, I know when you're
you
free of
know,
the body, none of that shit matters.
none of that
Absolutely
matters.
none of it matters. The only thing you realize is love. Like absolutely none of it matters. So, you know, the question that I would pose to people is that if you're going to realize when you leave here, all of these things that you were um, fighting for, striving for, that weren't love, they all were, it's like they're all housed in this body.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They're all housed in this body because you felt all of that pain in this body. And so all of these things are in this body and they're looking to be pacified, looking to be healed, looking to be completed, to be resolved in some way. So when you're little, you experience something, it wasn't resolved, wasn't properly processed, it's still in your body. And then you make a conclusion, well, if I marry a man that's like this, like that, with this and that, it's going to heal that. That thing is going to resolve. And then what happens is that it doesn't resolve because that's not how that thing heals. So you get the house, you get the this, you get the that, you get the children, you get all of these business and everything, and you're still like hurt and broken. And then what do? You want to throw away all of that stuff because it didn't heal it. So it's like out of this body, you realize you're free of all of those passions and things that you were trying to pursue to stop the pain that you are carrying in the body. It's so amazing when you come into alignment with your divine person because you get to be day in and day out in this divine love, which is what I would call
Yes.
real love.
Yes.
So all of these pains that you were still holding, some you weren't even realizing, start being able to release, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're it's a constant creation. And
Constant. Yes.
it's a
Yeah.
constant creation and it recreates itself
Expanding all the time.
all the time. Life keeps on
Yeah.
creating, right? Because love is life, right?
Love is life. Yeah.
So and it's beautiful and people until you experience it, because we could say this, you
Yes.
really have to experience this to really understand that euphoric feeling, that blissful feeling, the healing, the triggering, all of that.
Oh
But
yeah.
realizing this person is triggering me, but I love them so much. Like,
Yeah.
it's just all of
And
that.
then you ask the question, right? When you are being triggered by them, it's like, okay, is this fear? Is this love? Is this spirit?
Exactly.
Or is it because that's what it is, right? Like you realize they are touching on something that I didn't want anyone to see or to touch on, or I thought I had that thing done with. Why
Exactly.
is it coming up? Why is it, you know what I mean? Like, bro, I already healed from that. And it's like,
Yeah.
if you did, it wouldn't be an issue. So the fact
And
that
it
it's an issue,
will show you what
yes,
has to be worked on to better
exactly.
serve the union.
Exactly. And in turn,
Because
better serve everyone else, when your union is in a perfect alignment, right?
everybody you come in touch with will feel it.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
So that being said, yes, we have the human experience. Would you say that we are obviously divine being spirit? we are divine in the human body.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible then that part of the experience is lifting up the human ideals or idea of love to a divine understanding,
Absolutely.
right?
I think that's why we're here.
That's why that's the same understanding that I have
I
after
think that's what
every.
we're playing the drama out. We're learning. And that's why, I focus on capacity.
Yes.
I talk about when a baby is born, the baby don't come out the womb eating solid food.
No.
The baby suckles on the breast, then
Yeah.
soft food, and then
Yeah.
solid food. So we have to build our capacity through our various experiences,
Yes.
but always coming back to love.
Always, 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 always. Since we could be on here, I
I
am so
know.
excited. I'm so excited to see like the kind of comments and questions that will come. I think that we need to connect somehow to talk more
Yeah.
to
I think
really.
we need because there's so much to it. There is the masculine and feminine balance, but then it's just the feminine. Just
I
really,
feel like exactly, exactly.
there's a lot to that has to happen. I think, like I said, I feel like when that feminine energy is healed and
Yes.
rises in love, it is so much that our communities could benefit from.
Yes, yeah. Maybe if you are up to it next time, you're up to it, whether it's next week or whenever, we can speak specifically, have, an hour
Yeah.
to speak specifically to what does that mean? Divine, feminine, love the feminine, healing the feminine, all of it. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that is something that my husband tells me all the time. Yeah, and you got to talk to women about this. You got to,
I
because
know.
I'll say things, and he's like, women need to hear you say this.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
yeah,
It's such I know for me on my podcast, it's been such a sensitive topic to tap around because by no means I want any woman to think that, I have it all figured out.
yeah,
I could only speak on my experience
yeah,
and even past experience and just
yeah,
transforming
exactly,
and how much my home benefits from me transforming.
exactly.
So it's a sensitive topic because I feel like women can be attacked, have been attacked in so many different ways. But I think, coming from love, out of love,
Yes,
is a different thing. And is so that we could be better. Our kids could be better, our homes could be better, you
exactly.
know.
I think that when we like you and I have both been divorced, we both had children, and we've both experienced like the regular struggle
Yeah,
of
yeah,
being a woman in this world
yeah,
before divine love, before
yeah,
finding that thing. And I'm sure we can both look and be like, okay, how could I have come to this sooner? What were some things that I didn't do, were taught, programming? Like, because we've lived that, we literally can look and say, well, wow, this is the programming that came in, which caused me to this, that. And then I did XYZ, and then boom, 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 boom. And now here I am. If
yeah.
I could share something to help somebody,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Not make the same errors that I
Yeah,
did. This is what
yeah.
it's all about,
And
right?
that's the intention
Yes.
totally. And
Yeah.
and I realize that love cannot rise if it's not safe to do so.
Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It won't. So if a woman doesn't feel safe in her home, she's not safe with her emotions, she's not safe, just protection, just physically, love can't rise.
Yeah. And that's how
Okay.
we, and again, being able to say these things that we say also in a way for the masculine, the males, to be able to understand it. Because
Yes.
I already can hear, right? It's like, okay, that's what we feel. Like literally that's what we feel. Like we really have, I think women spend such a big time, especially now, putting on a I'm brave. Like I don't need anything. I don't need anyone. When really and truly, more than anyone else, we crave safety
Yeah.
in order, you know what I'm saying? In order to show who we are, be who we are, in order to love, in order to be vulnerable. We
Oh,
always make sure we're safe first.
yeah, like you're not gonna love in a war zone. You're not. So if your life feels like a war, whether you're having, to get the kids to school, or you're having to work two jobs, or if you're having to argue with your significant other and your emotions are not seen or heard or anything, you're in a war. So you're not gonna be
Yeah,
surrendered to
yeah,
allow love to rise.
yeah,
And I think that's so important that we talk about, because I know that that is a big issue.
yeah, yeah. And we have to be able to um help people around that, because at the end of the day, love is brave. You know what I'm saying? Love is brave because it's the same love. It's not a different love.
Yeah.
The same love that we have within us, something is making us feel we need to be safe before we can love. That thing that we're feeling is not in the spirit, it's in the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's true.
It's not in the spirit, it's in the body. So
That's so true.
when we talk about rising and being able to let that love be, it is such a deep connection to spirit, so
Mhm.
that it has to transcend your feeling of safety,
Yeah. And
because you
all the things, all the
and
human,
all the things.
all the fears, all the fears.
Yes, that's why it says perfect love cast out all fear.
Yeah.
And I think our journey as spirits in human bodies is to be able to redeem the human soul, if you want to put it that way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to the place of that reconciliation with perfect love. I think we are here to be perfected through love,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And women, we are the teachers. We are the first, there's a nice who said this? The name of God is mama on the lips of babies,
Mm-hmm.
because when children are first born, the whole time when they're in that mother, they're hearing her voice, they're feeling
Mm-hmm.
her emotions, they're literally being sustained by her. When
Mm-hmm.
they come out, they're still sustained by her. They hear her voice, they fall asleep to her heartbeat. They, if unless they had their memory of some life before coming to earth, the first thing that they're going to think of
Yeah.
as a most high source of life is their mother.
That's so true.
And so we have such a great responsibility to
Yeah.
be aligned, to be in love, to conquer fear, to all of these things. And it's love that helps. It's love that has to come first. It cannot be, okay, perfect example. We said you cannot expect a masculine man to be drawn to a masculine woman, right? You have to first be that in order for that to come. Saying that I want to wait for all of my circumstances to be perfect in order for me to love is really like saying that same thing. I
Yeah.
want these other things to come and then I'll become that person. No, no, no. Love leads the way.
That's
And
right.
so we have to regain our power in that grounding in that divine love, because we have the capacity for it, right? We have the capacity for it. So we can be brave in love. Like if we allow love to lead the way, then, like again, I said, love, perfect love, cast out all fear. If you are in perfect love, you don't have fear. There's not fear of anything, because the same man who is operating in perfect love, he is the protector, he's the provider. It's
Mm-hmm.
love.
Mm-hmm.
It's love through him protecting and providing. It's
Mm-hmm.
love through the mother, through the woman, nourishing. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And it's love. It's love just manifesting itself through different vessels, different poles.
That's it.
different polarities. That's it. Two different principles, masculine. It's still love. It's still
Yeah,
the life.
that's it.
So we have to just surrender to the love, surrender
Yeah.
to, that's it.
And it's who we are. It's
It's
not that we
who we
have to
are.
learn
I,
it or
no,
things. We just have to remember it. But you just have to allow it.
allow. You have to allow. And you know what it is? It's those layers. The fear is it's us. It's our own things that we have not, you know, a big part of it is like, it's the fear of death. It's the fear of loss of life. And when I say loss of life, it is everything from our image to our lifestyle to our this. It's all of this is part of fear of death.
Yeah.
Because so much of our life is tied into who we have presented ourselves to be to this world.
Mm-hmm.
So much of what we do is out of that fear, right? I'm not going to do that first because how will I look to them? I'm not going to be the one to, because what will, you know what I'm saying?
Is all fear. And that was, I mean, it was amazing how much fear has really, really, really programmed
Yeah.
all of us in one way.
All of us, all of us, all. I'm still finding things today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm realizing, holy, this goes way back.
Mm-hmm.
The initial, today we are talking, hubby and I was saying, what do you think was the initial psyop? Like, what was the first psychological play run on women? We didn't have a discussion. Like, what do you think was the first one? Like, what was them? We're having that discussion.
Yeah, there's a lot.
That was like, that would be a good way to start off our topic next time we come together, because I feel bringing light to that, like helping women realize the programming, the game that has been played on them.
Yeah, this just I just thought about this, that the mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being logical, the mind, always having to think about it, making sure that the way you're processing and analyzing is right. And what it does, it shuts down the heart. And, women have been mentally manipulated
Oh,
in
yeah.
so many ways
Yeah.
and through many, many constructs and systems.
Oh,
That's
yes.
big, big systems.
Yeah. Ancient.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So when you really start to look at it, but I think the biggest thing, like you say, is know thyself.
Know thyself, girl. Know thy. It is it
Because
that,
if
and
you don't know who you are, the world will
tell
tell
you.
you who you are,
Yeah.
and they will try to define you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then you have, all these layers and all these things that you're trying to figure out what
Yeah.
you're not.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is that the person who the world will tell you you are is a person that they can control. You see what I'm saying? As
Yes,
soon as the world defines you and you accept it, it means they control you. The person
that-
who defines you controls you.
that's right.
So that is one thing I think that women need to be able to come back to, that place. Who are you? You know, who are you? You don't need someone to tell you who you are, but who are you? And when you know who you are, then you regain some of that power, and you don't need to look to external forces to empower you, because those external forces that empower you are the ones who are and have been defining you in order to use you, usually against the males that you need to protect you.
Oh, listen, it's so much. And I think religion has played a huge
Oh, yeah.
role
Yes.
in that suppression, that mental suppression of women. I mean, I've had, friends tell me, you can't deny your husband, and I'm like, what? If someone mistreats you or like uh call you out your name, there's no way that you have to give up yourself
Exactly.
after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is a mental construct
Yeah.
somewhere
Yeah.
that somebody read and believed.
Yeah, and just to tap onto that, this is going to be great. I really do think we need to have this discussion because that's something that is so often, like, literally it's the psychology, right? And
It is.
we could use that one scripture, like, wives, submit to your husbands, right? As you do to the Lord. They take that one part and they use it to remove all sorts, like, to remove any power,
Yeah.
right, that woman would have over her own body.
Yep.
But the part right after, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave his body for her, that's to death.
Mm-hmm.
Love your wife as your own self.
Mm-hmm.
A man who is loving his wife as his own self
Yes.
never do that to her.
Exactly.
So this is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
They give you one thing, but they don't give you the part right under that is speaking to this man that I'm submitting to and loving like I love God. How does he love me? He loves me to the part, like, he loves me like his own self. He loves me to the point of death.
Mm-hmm.
This man loves me so much he would get crucified for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of husband they're talking about. That's the kind of husband you submit to, the
Mm.
one who go climb up on that cross and get crucified for you.
Yeah.
That's what that scripture is talking about. But how many husbands who are asking for their wives to submit are willing to die for them?
Or they themselves have not find the Christ within.
But they themselves haven't loved themselves.
It's that, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so
Yeah.
it's the whole thing. But when you take a little piece of something,
Yeah.
it's always easy to twist it and
Mm-hmm.
to use it to control people, which is why women need to be empowered. Like, my people perish for the lack of knowledge.
That's
We
right.
need to, if you wait for someone to be the person to tell you what you're supposed to do, and you don't have that own knowing within yourself, like intuitively, you may not have read the Bible verse, but in your heart, your inner wisdom, your intuitive
Wait.
wisdom, your intuitive light is saying, should I be laying down and open up myself for someone who hates me?
Exactly.
Like, it tells you.
Yeah, it is like it's a no-brainer. Like you wouldn't do that, right? But because it's written that you should, you know?
Yes.
So
I
yeah,
see Chef Rufus 7.
Chef Russ. So that's my husband.
That's the hubby. I said, Chef,
Yeah.
hi hubby. Hi to your husband. Thank you for being such a good husband to Janie. No, I have to. I mean, good husbands, I love them. I love them because I
Yeah, he's
feel
super
my
important.
sisters, yes, my sisters need good husbands. So I'm always happy when a woman says, I'm happy, I love my husband. I'm like, girl,
Yeah,
that's an answer to prayer. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it
So,
is.
yeah, he says, saying that God is a man was the biggest psyop played on women,
Yeah.
you know?
I said that. I said in my journey, understanding that, whoa, God and this feminine energy, because everything was He is good and He is God and He this. And I literally like use divine because I have to see myself
Of
in
course.
God. So, and I'm a woman. So
Yeah.
how am I? I'm also God, I'm
But
goddess.
this is going right back again, right? When people take little things and twist it, it says, come, let us make man in our image and likeness. But that man there, it actually says, let us make, it's actually mankind. But
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. And then it goes on to say, male and female created Elohim, them. So Elohim made them male and female. So right from the beginning, you know that male and female were created in the image and likeness of God. What people choose to take, and furthermore, even if someone said, no, 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 it's only Adam. Okay, if Adam was made in the image and likeness of God, when Eve was made, Adam agreed that Eve was also made in his own likeness, which means if I make something in my likeness and then I make something else in the likeness of the thing that I made in my likeness, they're all still made in my likeness.
Right.
Do you
Exactly.
understand what I'm saying? So there's no way around it, but people will take a little thing and twist it just in order to control you.
Yeah.
And this is what's being done all the way. But if you, again, know thyself, if you take your time and you're like, you know what? why doesn't this resonate with me?
Exactly.
Why
And
doesn't
I
right.
and I've heard many people, feel that the Bible is almost like a psychological
Facts, right,
text.
right. Yeah.
It's almost like it's a psychological text. And I think that this is a part of the awakening, is that we are the mental suppression is being torn away,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know? So
I think it's gonna come through because one thing that happened, like I don't know if I mentioned it on the NDE that you probably watch, but I know I have on others, because usually other people are more Christian based sometimes, so they ask me like stories,
yeah.
they ask me like questions about that, and I would tell them like, when the 2 weeks after I like came back into my body for 2 weeks after that NDE, I was just getting like scriptures, 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 but I was seeing the scriptures and understanding them in a whole other way.
Hmm.
It's like something just unlocked in my head. And I would be talking, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, that scripture, that's what that scripture is talking about. Just like
Yeah.
dots connecting. And
Yeah.
I said, the reason why is because you have to be spirit to understand spirit.
Absolutely.
You cannot understand spiritual concepts with your carnal mind. Just put it that way.
Oh, that's it. That's
You know what I'm
it.
saying? You can't
That's
understand it
it.
with
You
that mind,
can't.
right?
And
If
I think that's it with love.
that's it. And you cannot, if something was written in love and you don't have that love, because someone asked me, why do I think that I could interpret scripture now? And I'm like, well, because if anything was written in love, unless you know that love, it's like the Rosetta Stone.
Hmm.
You have to, if you have that, then you could understand what's being said. But if I don't know that, if I don't know what the original thing is, I can't understand the counterfeit. I can't see the counterfeit if I don't know what the original is. If I say to you, okay, sis, people are gonna come by any fake coins that they give to you, any fake gold, throw it to the side and only keep the real gold. If I don't give you an example of what the real gold looks like and feels like, you
Hmm.
have no way to know if what comes to you is real or not. You have to have the real thing. So after my NDE, because I spent that time literally like basking the thing I spent the most time in was in that room where I was seeing all of the bodies and going
Hmm.
through the whole thing, was seeing the love and all of that. Because I spent so much time there, I think that's why when I came back, it was just so clear, like, nope, doesn't match the vibration. It's not, nope, nope, nope. And so every single thing, there's a scripture again that says, to the pure, all things are pure.
Yeah. Yep.
And even that was
Yeah.
one of the things that came to me, is because when you have a pure understanding of something, it doesn't matter what you look at. You can always see in it what is true and what is not true. You
Yeah.
can take something and you can take that thing and you could turn it and make it truth. You could take that thing that someone is giving to you, that they gave to you in order to confuse you,
Yeah.
because you know what the truth is. You could take that thing and turn it back, twist it all the way back, and be like, here's what you did. I understand you did this, you did that, but here's what the real thing is.
Hmm.
You have to know the original thing in order to see all the ways that it was manipulated to take it out of shape and out of
Yeah.
context,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I could see that clearly in the Bible. Like, the Bible is literally written off way more ancient things. There were things written way back before the Bible that the Bible has taken a lot of these writings. It's
Yeah.
there. So I don't spend time, is the Bible this or that? It's like, if the Bible has things written in it that I know are truth, this is
Hmm.
not the first time these truths have been written down.
Yeah.
You could go back into other ancient works and see the same truths being communicated through art, through literature, whatever the case is. So within that book, you have many truths and you have many errors
Yeah. And
within that.
I think sometimes let's just say the Bible. Let's
Mhm.
say that you read the Bible and everything in this book is your belief system and
Yes.
this is what you believe. I think when we have these beliefs so strong,
Yes.
it blocks us from so many things that the divine wants us to experience. And I believe because I was not, like I told you, I was not really indoctrinated, in religion like that. My family grew up Catholic,
Yes.
but my mom was never like,
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Staunch. Yeah.
that. I was open.
Yeah.
I was
Mhm.
open. I was open and I feel like I had my consciousness was ready for this leveling up
Yes.
and I was open to it. But I
Yes.
think when we're so hard down and this is the scripture and this is how I'm gonna work, blah blah blah, it's like you polarized
Yes.
and you miss so much.
Yeah.
Because I feel just like in the Bible, we have the story of John and the story of Paul. We have our own story. Now I have my story of Janie and my awakening. You
Right.
have your story.
Right.
And I think is how we have come here to experience this love. And
Yes.
what is our story? How am
Yes.
I going to experience this love?
Well, I'll tell you this way, just to give you an example. You know, they would call the letters, in the Bible, right? Epistles, right? Like the epistle of Paul or whatever.
Hmm.
And there's a scripture that says, you are living epistles. So do you get what I'm saying? Exactly the words that you're saying to me right now. Like, what about my story? It's like
Exactly.
saying, what about my letter? What about reading the letter of Janie?
Exactly.
And there is a scripture that literally says that we are living epistles. We are living letters. But when was the last time you heard that preached?
Yeah, I don't
You probably
know.
didn't even know that that was a
No,
scripture there.
no.
Exactly. So my
Because
point,
it all becomes external. Like everything
exactly,
is the God out there.
exactly,
And that's why you can't identify as the creator.
no, no,
Love in me, this spirit that I am, you can't identify it because first of all, it's a he.
yeah,
And then, it's out there somewhere. So it's so far. I can't reach it,
yeah.
you know?
If you and maybe this is the last thing I'll say, but there is a hint, there are so many parables where I say Yeshua. There are so many parables where Yeshua says, the kingdom of heaven, it's
Mm-hmm.
this. And for example, the kingdom of heaven is like this, right? A man had a field, he sowed wheat in his field. And then while, he was away and his servant slept, an enemy came and he sowed tares in his field. And then the wheat and the tares, by the time they realized what was done, they said, hey, should we go out and just pull them all up, right? All of the tares up. And the master said, no, because you might pull up some of the good stuff, right? You might pull up some of the wheat. So just leave it until the harvest time when they've both grown, because at that time you could see clearly which one is which. At that time, the reapers will go and they will change it. People always talk about this. This is one of the most popular ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they fail to realize that Yeshua said, the kingdom of heaven is like this. The kingdom of heaven is like a field that had both good and bad
Mm-hmm.
sown inside of it. And you have to let it work its way
Yeah,
until fruit are there. And by their fruit, you will know them,
that's right.
right? And then at that time, you're able to discern this is, and then what is the kingdom of heaven? He says the kingdom of heaven is within. So this field is us.
Mm-hmm.
We have good seed and we have bad seed that has been sown within us. The time of harvest, it could be awakening. The time of harvest will come when we have to discern what is the beliefs that I have within me that are right and
Yeah.
fruitful and beneficial, and what are the beliefs within me that are not. Then I need to take these ones out.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so just right there within the scriptures, there is so much that can be helpful. to a
Yeah.
person, but we have taken it and we have turned it
Yeah.
into whatever it is today. And so it's no good for anyone.
Yeah.
Really, truly.
And I think like love gives us wisdom. Like that's
Exactly.
why you could, after your experience, you could see these scriptures and be like, whoa, no, this.
Yeah. I'm like, what? I never,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love gives us wisdom that we didn't have before. And you don't know how you know, but you know.
Yes. Yeah. And again, if you look at everything through the eyes of love, you will be able to see the truth. Because remember what I said when I was on the other side. When I saw the light and I saw the encoding, I understood that the light was truth. I understood that the light was life, and the life, truth, light, spirit, they are all one. These things are not separate. Love, light, truth, and spirit are not different things. They are one thing.
Yep.
So when you actually look at something, and then you see what's happening to me right now, I'm just getting like downloads. But there's a scripture that says, the letter killeth, the letter, just the written, the letter killeth, but the spirit gives life. So when you're looking at a book, let's say the Bible or any other book, any other thing, any other physical, just a written thing, if you don't look at that thing with the eyes of the spirit, you cannot get life from it. You will only get the type of knowledge that will bring you to a place of death, because it's only spirit that gives life.
That's right.
So a lot of people read these scriptures, or what they call scriptures, and they become so depressed. They become so, very religious. They become more hateful. They become so ritualistic, all of these different things, because they've been looking at the letters written. They have not been using the spirit to understand. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
that's been my biggest thing in observation, right? Like you said, you will know them by the fruit,
yes,
peace, love,
yeah,
happiness,
joy,
joy,
exactly.
knowledge of self. Like, so if what you're doing, right, is not bringing this into your life, then it is time to at least evaluate what's happening.
Yes, yes, I love it. That's it. Russell Bruce just made such a wonderful comment. He said, the scriptures are all allegorically and metaphorically talking about you.
Yeah.
It's all about the hero's journey of us all awakening into the knowledge of ourselves as divine beings of the Most High. I could not say it any better. So you can know that truth, and you could read those scriptures and you will get empowered. Or you can read it through, like, again, the letter, right? Just reading it like that, you won't
Yeah.
understand it. It's going to kill you. You will
Yeah.
get no life
Yeah.
from it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Like he
that was,
said, you got to
yeah.
see the metaphor
Yes.
in
Yes.
it. You can't
Yeah.
just read it,
Yeah.
you're not gonna get anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And we have a lot of like the worship of Christ outside when Christ is within. So, there's that whole other thing, you know what I mean? But all of it comes back to love. And I think the fact that in 2025, we could have myself having my experience, and you and your wonderful husband finding it, sending it, and we could still connect. Two
yeah,
people from our whole different, walks of life, connecting and being able to speak openly and freely about these topics and to share. And who knows who will hear, who knows who will listen. But this is just to show you the power of love.
exactly.
The
That's it.
power of, you know.
Yeah. And it is, I mean, I know, like it's a knowing. I
Yeah.
know that so many more people
So
will
many.
connect in this way.
Oh yeah. So many.
And I mean, and for the longest, I'm telling you, I thought I was out here alone talking about love. Because you feel like you are just this one person out here, and there's all these things going on in the world, and here you are.
Yeah,
Love
I
is the
know.
path.
Love. They're like, love again? Is this girl still talking
Yeah,
about love?
but I knew that this was it. And
that's
I
all
know what
it
I'm
is
here to
about.
do, and I know the message. And
It's
so,
not about anything else, sis. Everybody is gonna leave here and you will be asked two questions. You will be asked, did you love?
yeah,
And did you receive love?
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
No one's gonna ask you what was in your bank account when you left. You know what I'm saying? Like how much pounds did you lose? How
yeah,
much did, you know what I'm saying? Like no one is that those questions are not gonna ask. You're gonna be asked, did you give love? And
hmm,
did you receive love?
yeah,
That's it. Did you give and did you receive?
yeah,
That's it. So why are we spending time doing anything else other than evolving in our giving and receiving of love?
yeah.
Because
And
that's all it's going to come down to.
yeah, and this knowledge, it was freeing for me. It was empowering, but so freeing. Like, man, like that's it. I could do this easy. I
Forever.
could love easy. And I know that's not easy for a lot of people.
Mhm.
I know that love doesn't come easy for people. You
Mhm.
know, doing it, embodying it, being it, all of that. And I think it's allowing spirit to move through you and to express through you. So
Because spirit is love.
yeah, but people, it's hard because they're in the body or they're in all their emotions and
But
all.
they identify as their body. So as
Yeah,
long as you identify as your body, you will have problems. The moment you realize my body is my vehicle or my house, and I am the spirit within it, using it to operate in this plane, it loses its power over you. Your
yeah,
body is supposed to just be a tool that you utilize to get done. It's like we are spirit in a physical body. We are dancing. We are spirit dancing with nature. That is what we are. We are, and so the more we identify with our body is the more we will be locked into the limitations of the body. The
yeah.
more we identify with our spirit or with being spirit is
Hmm.
the more we'll be able to integrate spirit or higher self into the body, and then our body obeys us. Our body is literally the student and our spirit is the master. That is, but so many people have it where they're not even aware of the master student relationship. They
No,
are literally just the body is the master and that's it,
yeah,
right? So that's the type of you know, things that we kind of have to share to help liberate people. Um,
yeah.
Period.
Yeah, yeah.
Liberate people.
And I'm so grateful for the journey. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful just to be here. These many years into the journey because it was definitely a lot getting here. But I'm so grateful because there's no better time than now.
That's why we came. That's why I came back.
Yeah,
That's it. This is all
yeah,
it. This is all it. And I am ever so grateful for, I mean, I think of obviously the way that I came about the NDE, it was not one that I would choose, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? In my human
Yeah,
sense, but I
yeah.
understand now divinely.
I
I
have said
understand.
that so many times, here in Indies. I was like, I'm so grateful that I just was like, okay, I got it right. Let me go down. I'm gonna
Yes,
learn about
yeah,
love
yeah, yes.
because I feel that could be so like it's a
Yeah,
lot.
it's
A
a lot.
lot.
It is a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I personally don't wish it on anyone. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't wish it on anyone. However, I wish that everybody would come to that knowledge. We
Yes.
could come to that knowledge without having to go through, which is what we're doing. We are saving people a lot of like, it wasn't easy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I always say I would not, as much as I've learned from that NDE, remembered more than learning, it was a remembering, you know.
Yeah.
It's very easy. Like when I was coming back into this realm, I always say like it was so heavy, so nasty. You could feel all
Yeah.
the twisting, you could feel all the compromising, you could feel your own self getting the yuck on you. You know what I mean? And that is something that you're gonna have to wash off, you
Yeah.
know, purify yourself from and stay pure from it. But at the end of the day, we are all here to learn about love. And guess what? Love is who we are.
It is. It is who
Love
we.
is who we are. Because love is spirit and love is truth. And so it just comes down to, can we take time to know ourselves? When you
Yeah.
know yourself, love yourself. Even on the journey to know yourself, love yourself. Accept what you find out, love it. There are going to be things you find out about yourself. It's really not about your true self. What you're doing is you're finding out how you have created beliefs around things that you have experienced and what you have made those beliefs say about you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what you're doing, and so you're reconciling all that stuff. You're now at a place of maturity where you could look over your life and say, okay, because I experienced these things, I made these beliefs, and I said that this is about me. You made it about you. And so now you have to look back. Now that you're mature, you could look back and say, okay, yes, my dad did this, my mom did that, and I said that this is the reason why, because I was no good. And so they divorced. And I've never looked back at that belief.
Right.
So now that I'm mature, I could look back and like, where did this feeling of not worthiness come from? Where did this feeling come from? Okay, I go all the way back to when my parents divorced. I thought to myself, if I was worth it, they would stay together. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you made a belief that you were not worth it because your parents didn't stay together. Now you're in a relationship. It's not a good one. You're ready to leave and you can't leave because you're thinking, what damage am I going to do to my children? If I leave, my children will not feel like they're worth it. And so your feeling of unworthiness is being projected onto your children if you make a healthy decision,
Mm-hmm.
which would be, let's say it was an abusive relationship and all this stuff. The best thing to be would be to leave, but you're not going to leave because you have this belief that your children will feel unworthy. Like you have to stay for the kids.
Yeah.
And
We,
that all ties into your own feeling of not worthy enough to leave an abusive relationship. And that stemmed from what you experienced with
yeah.
your parents. And that's just one example.
Yeah. We
That's
don't
just one
realize
example.
that we recreate
All the
out
exactly.
of fear or trauma or whatever.
Yes.
And we are here to say that you could create in love.
You don't have to create out of fear.
You don't have to create in fear and pain because, I think for some reason people learn just out of pain, but you could,
That doesn't have to be the way we learn. We could learn other we could learn other ways.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you could learn from love. And I think it's time. I think it's
Yeah.
time. We've learned so much from pain and
Pain,
fear and all that.
exactly.
It's time we learn from love.
Let's end there. It's time we learn from love. It is time we learn from love.
Yeah.
Listen, guys, I just want to thank Janie. She's such a wonderful guest. I just love, everybody knows I love talking about love. So they're like, Yandea is in bliss right now. I'm
Thank
binging,
you.
right? I am in love right now. Okay. I am swimming in it. I'm loving it. So I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I want to thank you, obviously, Janie, and everyone who is watching and who will watch this. Please follow Janie. I will put her ways to connect with her in the description. And that podcast that she has with her husband, check it out. I'll put all of that. I'll put all of that down there.
Yeah.
And is there any last words you want to leave?
I think we've said it all. Love is who you are,
Leave us who you are.
and you just have to allow it. It's who you are. You just have to allow it. You don't have to work hard for it. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to jump hoops.
Yeah.
Just allow it.
Just allow. And maybe we can help people understand a little bit more about how do you allow? How do you allow? I
Yeah.
had that question and I actually talked about it on my last podcast, the Come Let Us Reason Together. Someone asked what, because I always talk about the art of allowing. And
Yeah.
but we can talk about it in this context of
Yeah.
allowing. love, allowing love. How
Yeah.
do you allow love after trauma, pain, and all of this stuff? How do you allow? So I'm open to it. If you're good to meet again, to have more discussion, you
Yeah.
know, Janie, I'm all for it. And I think other people would really benefit from this type of content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Yes. So on that note, please, if you would like to take part or to share your story, please reach out to me at lovestoryforyandea@gmail.com. And we will be back here at 7:30 next Sunday. See you then. Janie, hang on, okay? Bye-bye.